Hello and welcome. My name is Mariah. You may have been here before, probably. I'm not here that often, but I'm trying to change that. Thank you to everybody who sticks around. Anyways, what are we talking about today? Today is the European Day of Languages. Ali po slovensko je Evropski dan jezikov. 26. septembra. Praznujte z nami Evropski dan jezikov. Today, Europe celebrates this Day of Languages, which is really cool because Europe is so many tiny little countries with so many languages. I was just in Italy and we went from Italy, crossed the border to Slovenia, and you can almost see it without any signs. There's just a shift that happens. And there's this wonderful, wonderful thing about living in Europe, which is you can drive an hour, 2 hours, a few hours, and you're in a completely different country, a different culture, a different architectural style, a different language. The language makes such an impact on the culture and the experience of the country in general, I find. This is something really special about Europe. This is one thing that immediately in the beginning, when I first came to Europe, that just drew me in, that I thought was so special. In one of my previous videos, you may have noticed that I was speaking a little more Slovene and also attempting to learn Italian. My Italian adventure is about halfway through at this point, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about it on this European Day of Languages. What a great thing. We have nothing like this in America. I've lived here now in Slovenia for 14 years. I have finally gotten to a place in the language where I feel comfortable, where I feel proficient, where I enjoy speaking the language. I don't dread it everywhere I go. And a huge part of that is just being immersed in the language. I don't have a community of Americans I spend my time with. I'm kind of just immersed in a Slovenian lifestyle. I got to a certain part in my language learning process where I understood a lot but never felt comfortable, and it was very frustrating. It was at that point that I started to look for some other class program that would help me just get over that plateau. And that's when I found LMA, which you will recognize from my previous video. Initially, I was very anxious, nervous about the investment into the program. One being financial, but two was really time. I just knew if I was going to do this, I was going to have to invest a lot of my time, which is hard because I have small kids and I have a very busy, active lifestyle. And so I was nervous because I wanted to make sure I was going to get what I wanted out of it, which was, I just want to be comfortable in this language. I'm living in this country. I want to be comfortable here. And I was very happy. I got exactly that out of it. Fast forward a little time, I'm talking with the company, telling them I had a great experience. I'm very grateful for everything. And then I said, oh, you know, I've always wanted to learn Italian. And so we ended up working out this collaboration, which I was so thrilled about because I don't collaborate with companies very often. I feel really strongly that it should be someone I know, I trust, I believe in. And so having this prior experience with the company where I paid for my own program and then having a collaboration with them was like, perfetto. It was perfetto. È perfetto. And so Italian, here I am, halfway through. What do I think? We were just in Rome. I can't describe it, but when I hear Italian and I'm in the midst of the Italian culture and I hear the language being spoken, it's like if I didn't know, I would just feel it in my blood. So great-grandparents were from Italy, Sicily. And so it is in my bones, it is in my blood to some degree. And when I hear it, I just have this feeling like, I love this. It makes me start laughing because I just feel so much joy from the language. It didn't take very long in Italy to start feeling like I'm amongst my people. And just like, I love this language. The founder, Mate, of LMA, he describes languages as having, there's the spirit of the language. And I could totally feel it being there for a short while. You just start to feel this, what's the essence of the language, the way that it's alive in some ways because it's being spoken by people and changing and evolving. So it was really just so wonderful to be there. This is the interesting part. I was there and I had done a few weeks of LMA's program, their adventure in Italian. I started knowing nothing in Italian. I did a few weeks of the program went to Rome, and then my friend, she met me in Rome with her family. She had done a traditional language learning course of some kind where you get a textbook, you memorize the days of the week, you memorize the colors, you memorize the months of the year. You know, you do all this. What was really interesting is when we were there together, because I had this experience with LMA where you immediately start talking to a native speaker, even though you're very uncomfortable and you don't really know what to say, but you're doing your best to just put words together. I could kind of talk with people. Even though I didn't know much, I could understand a little bit from what they were saying. I tried to make my conversation work. And at the end, we always understood one another, which was amazing. On the other hand, I saw that my friend was really not comfortable in terms of speaking. She probably understood more reading and maybe even listening. She understood more of the language, but her ability to communicate was different from mine because I had this experience of like, oh, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to start talking and I'm going to just try what I know, and maybe I misunderstand, and then they realize I misunderstand and we try again, and it was fine. Whereas from her side, it was like, oh, I understand everything. I'm just going to respond in English because I have no idea how to respond. So that was an interesting side by side that she and I kind of talked about and noted the differences. It was really, really fun. It is incredible to me how after a few short weeks, I could go to this country. I could understand so much in this language. I have here this Museo e Cripto dei Frati Cappuccini, Museum and Crypt of the Capuchin Friars. Okay, La Storia, and then here, the history. Do you know how amazing this was? So useful, so incredible. For me, learning, it was fantastic. And I pretty quickly got the hang of things. And especially because I had the goal that while I was there, I was going to do as much as I could to only communicate with other Italians in Italian. So obviously with my family, we're all speaking English or Slovene, but with everyone else, I was trying to do my best in Italian. And I was really happy with what I had accomplished in like 2.5, 3 weeks. It was amazing. In the midst of all of that travel, trying to keep up my lessons, I said, I'm struggling. I feel like I'm being rushed faster than I can keep up. At this point, my language guide, which in this LMA adventure, you have language guide, you have language companion. So your language guide kind of helps you through the program, fixes things if they need fixing. And mine says to me, I think you would feel better if we paused your adventure while you're traveling. You can keep up with your online portions, and then we can return to your conversations after you've built up a little more knowledge and vocabulary on the online program. As soon as he said this, I felt this, oh, that would be great. And it was just such a beautiful thing to see that my needs, my desires for learning this language were being seen, and that the program was flexible for me. This was just so great, so great. So I'm really feeling good about it. I'm, like I said, halfway through. My goal is that at the end of this program, I can go to Trieste or Trst, which is a little Italian city, Slovenian Italian city, depending on who you talk to, on the coast. And I love it there. It's so cute. It's so beautiful. It's wonderful. And I just want to go there and be able to shop around and chit chat with the locals. Of course, I'd love to be so fluent that I could go to Italy and live there for a month and just be one of the natives. At this time, this is my goal. I just want to go have a coffee, shop around, talk with locals, and enjoy the language. On that note, recently, a few weeks ago, Apple came out with this groundbreaking technology. Apple AirPods will now translate in real time. So I can be having a conversation. I can be speaking in English. You can be speaking Italian or whichever language you speak. And we both have our Apple AirPods in, and you will hear me speaking in your language. I will hear you speaking in my language. This is incredible. Wonders of technology. Incredible. my first thought was, this is incredible for business people who travel to several different countries, are not really interested or have the time to learn the language, but it's useful to communicate freely, right? This is fantastic for that. The second thought I had was, this is so terrible because after living in a foreign country for 14 years and learning a language for 14 years, I can tell you there are things that do not translate. And the spirit of the language you will never get when it's translated into your language. And it's a very special experience to experience that spirit of that language. There is you will understand American culture by speaking with Americans in American English much better than if you have a translator whose first language is not English, maybe didn't grow up in America, or is just an AI, Google Translate, whatever. You'll never fully get that. Now, for some people, like I said, it doesn't matter. But for me, when I think about learning Italian, or I think of just communicating with Italians through my own language, hearing them in English, there is such a loss of connection, of beauty, of history and culture and language you can never replace, never. So anyways, this is really interesting, groundbreaking on the field of learning foreign languages, right? I'm curious, what is your thought on this? Tell me in the comments. Let's get into it. I love it. I want to hear it all. And yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. I'm happy with where I'm at this point. I'm looking forward to moving forward. It's incredible to me. I don't know. I'm happy. And I hope that you are happy on this Day of European Languages. I will link below the website for this in case you're curious. It's a really nice website. It has lots of things. I'm not sponsored by it. I'm not promoted by it or anything like that. But I heard about it, and I live in Europe, and now I speak 2 languages in Europe. Well, you know, English, and I speak another European language, and I'm working on a 3rd one. And so it's very relevant to me in my situation. So anyways, that's it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.